Hello. I'll just wait for people to join.
Um,
Hello.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for doing this.
No problem.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Haven't been seeing my face for a long time.
That's one thing about teaching with Zoom. You will see yourself.
Yes, I was trying to hurry, like get my hair done, put a shirt on.
You look great.
Everyone's
I
here.
just I just noticed there's a mute button on the left.
Yes.
For the teachers, that is still muted. If you want to need to talk, you need to unmute your audio.
Yes. Um, so that is a setting that I set up, and I'll go over all of that. But
Oh, nice. Okay.
did you say we have everybody, Benny?
Let me see. I think we have enough to keep going. Like this is 11. Let's start.
Okay, great. So welcome to Zoom. If you haven't used it before, if you're going to be using Zoom in particular on a regular basis, I thought I would go over just how to set one up. So you need to download the app onto your computer or phone, which obviously everyone already has. And when you set up a meeting, you can schedule the meeting is one way to do it. And then you just pick your date and time. And a lot of these settings are default already. I particularly chose, let me go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so here's what it looks like. And I chose to have the host video is on to start and participant video on. That's most likely what you want. And audio, make sure I have all the options available. No one's going to be calling in by telephone, but just in case something happens, so you can connect with your student and then adjust settings as you need to. I use Google Calendar. It does accommodate other things. And then you definitely want to click on advanced options. And I did click the box for mute participants on entry, but with the student, you'll want to make sure that is open. And I also clicked automatically record the meeting on local computer. And that's so we can share this later. If you want to do that with your student, then you could send them a video later for them to review, which is kind of handy. Mm-hmm. And so then once you're here, one of the most important things about Zoom, oh, and here's my setup here. So
very nice.
I have a mic that I've been using for years and seems to be pretty decent quality. And I use headphones because it seems to help cut echo. I will say modern, over the last years, they've really improved this. So headphones may or may not be necessary for you. Especially with flute, I find that I still need headphones, and that's helpful to cut down on the echo. And speaking of sound, Zoom does have the best sound quality of any of the ones I've tried, but it requires doing some settings. So I go into preferences and audio, and you can see it is already set to my microphone, but it may start on your default computer. If you're using an external mic, then you want to make sure that it's there. And then I'm just going to check all of my settings and they all look fine. So then I'm going to go to advanced. And you want to click this box that says show in option meeting to enable original sound. And also the background noise suppressors, I disabled both of those. And the echo cancellation I leave on auto because your only other option is aggressive. And with aggressive, that tends to create those holes in the sound when we're playing music and there's high variation between loud and soft, then it will try to cut that out and you end up with those holes in the sound. So then when you come back to your screen, I don't think I'll be able to show you this because of the way screen sharing works, but Once you come back to your full screen on the top left, there will be an option to turn on original sound, and you'll have to click that every time, I believe. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn it off. And I don't know if you can hear a change in my voice already, but I've tried this with a friend of mine. We went through every platform to try to decide which one was the best option, and this was hands down. It makes a bigger difference. I'll just play a little bit for you. And then I'll turn it off. It seems to make a bigger difference to have it on and with the mic. I also try to play reasonably softly, especially flute overloads the sound very quickly. So when I'm demonstrating, I'm trying to play as soft as I can. Piano is not quite as bad. It kind of depends what your range you're in. And then when I need to change my setup, I'm not afraid to like pick up the computer and like, okay, let's go to the piano, or, you know, whatever I need to do. So just pay attention to what I'm plugged into at the moment. Other platforms I've used, I offer the students the option of what they want to pick, because not everyone has everything that is out there. Like more and more students are getting Zoom, and it's pretty easy to get them set up on it because they can just click the link to enter. But FaceTime is the best plug and play option. It has the best sound quality, that you don't have to fiddle with any settings. You just have them get on and go. And another one was Skype is not too bad. And Google seems to have the lower sound quality, but it works pretty well. It depends on their device too. If they have Apple, obviously FaceTime is the easiest. If they have an Android, then it seems to, the Google Hangouts seem to talk to each other better than trying to have them do something else. But again, it just kind of depends on what you're using. And I still think Zoom has the best sound quality I've heard, so I'll probably be working on transitioning everybody over to that eventually, especially because we're all in the same boat. So everybody is quickly adopting many of these things. So I think, oh, and as you can see, I had my stack of music next to my computer. That's all of my students' music, so that in their lesson, I've got it right here. I can go over things with them. And I can also, this particular video is being recorded to my computer, so I'll be able to upload it later. I think I mentioned that. But I'll also send them, if they're like, oh, I had this question, I'll just grab my phone real quick, do a little video and email it to them or text them, and have them do the same for me to like accomplish homework during the week, things like that. One thing I'm trying to not do is to overdo it. I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't take over my life or theirs. We're still just doing lesson material and trying to keep things as normal as possible. So does anyone have questions? Yeah. Benny, there, go ahead.
So do you require parents to sit in your lessons, or pretty much all your students will be able to handle all this by themselves?
That always depends on the individual student. For me personally, the younger ones, especially in the beginning, had parents hanging out to help them manage the computer. And I mean, even the little ones seem to do just fine with being able to stay reasonably focused. And I mean, definitely one or two are like, okay, let's come back. And it's a challenge because, you know, they're dealing with a screen and I'm not there in the room to kind of manage, but most of them have done pretty well. And I've had my full schedule this week. Every student was online this week. So it went pretty well.
I'm sure it's going to be like very different than in-class teaching because you can just grab their attention by all your movements and then be present with them. So is there any tips on how to teach online more effectively in your verbal cue or in anything like to help them be more focused?
It's a good question. It's definitely different. And I actually find it more exhausting this week. I'm hoping I'll get used to it because the video cuts down on your facial expressions and everything. So I'm finding I have to be more animated and more present to try to convey what I'm trying to have them get. So, and then also with speaking, the gain on the mic is quite high right now to accommodate my speaking voice, but I will change. In fact, let me turn this down. So I've turned the gain way down in order to demonstrate. Because that's a little better. And then I'll turn it back up so you can hear me speaking. I'm still navigating that personally because it is challenging to like turn it up, turn it down during a lesson and distracting. So oftentimes I'll try to have it somewhere in the middle and then I end up yelling. So you'll kind of have to negotiate that for yourself. Obviously, if you don't have an external mic, you have no control. So you'll have to try to manage how you're doing that. You could do that by having the mic close when you're speaking and then move away to demonstrate. So for example, if I was teaching on piano, I usually have the computer on a music stand or a shelf on the side. So when I'm speaking, I might move to one side of the bench and be able to speak, and then I would move away and have the mic a little further away to demonstrate from the piano. But and then also with the students, obviously they're not as sensitive to mic placement and other issues. So and gotten used to trying to evaluate what they're doing through the sound that I'm getting from them, which is not great. It's a learning curve to interpret what it is they're doing over the computer sound. I mean, especially with flute, I've found, the distortion is reasonably high. So, yeah, it took me a while to get comfortable enough to know, oh, okay, I can hear what's happening underneath all that distortion, and here's what we should try to fix it. And I guess I'm not afraid to like, okay, try this. That didn't work. Okay, try that. Now try this. Because, the quality of what you're getting is just not the same.
Yeah, I'm sure like this coming week will be for everyone to actually hands-on working with it. And there will be a lot of problems and a lot of learning in it.
Yeah, it's a great idea. If you have questions about or have ideas about how to make things work when you're on a video lesson, I would love to hear that. So I think it's a great idea to have a place where we could either email or, chat room or something where you can like, hey, this worked really well, or this did not work for me at all. I think that's a great idea.
Right. Do you have problem like schedule student back to back, like what we've been doing in class? Like just like sharp stop and then starting one right after? Or do you always like need to schedule something like maybe a 5 minutes break for yourself?
I haven't had any issue being back to back.
Okay.
Typically, in fact, I find that students are far more punctual.
They want to click the link.
Exactly. So they click the link and we wrap up right on time. I mean, that could change over time, but currently I haven't had any issues just being scheduled back to back. If you, another thing that I'm experiencing because I have in-home lessons, so there's break times built into that schedule because I was driving before. So I've actually changed the schedule a little bit to compress those students and have them back to back. So then I finish earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far, no issues there.
Mm-hmm.
For the audio, you said that you can use the phone. Have you tried using the phone audio to see if it's any better?
It depends on your phone. So I have a OnePlus 6, which is kind of an obscure brand that not a lot of people have. But iPhones tend to have the best sound quality for mics. If I need to use the phone instead of my computer in this setup, I'll use the iPad because, again, FaceTime has the best quality. But if the student needs Android and we're using Google, then I'll use my phone because it's an Android phone and it behaves better.
Well, actually, when I just heard Nelson speaking into his computer versus you're using your setting, it's a huge difference already. I feel like you're talking way more into the system, and then Nelson's voice is just like all over. Can we have all the teachers like take turns, maybe just say your name and then say a sentence and see how the sound goes?
Who wants to go first?
Go ahead.
Hey guys, Teacher Matt here. I did Zoom for a couple lessons, and the biggest help I've found was the turning on of original sound. I think the tricky thing for me was some of the students couldn't figure it out, and I wonder if I'm using a PC and they have Mac. So are you using a Mac, Sarah?
I'm on a Mac. I think the most helpful thing you can do there is like share your screen. Okay. Or do a screenshot, especially when the turn on original sound, because when you share your screen, that button goes away. So I'll do a quick screenshot and be like, it's up here. And you can send screenshots in the chat. So let me see if I can do that real quick. So I'll just, for example.
Oh, I just noticed the chat window. Wow.
Yeah. So you can send them files, you can send them a PDF of music, screenshot, even MP3s, I believe. You can send over chat pretty much anything. I mean, you don't need to use the chat because you could email it to them or whatever, but it is a nice option to just throw it in there real quick and you can both see what's there.
Who's next?
Hi. I'm Olga. I don't know if you can hear me well, but I've been teaching yesterday for the first time using Zoom. I did turn on original sound. I was teaching with microphone and without microphone. The connection was not very good at my place. I was in my studio. It was very low. I'm going to switch to home because we have better connection here. For my students and even for me, sometimes having it without external headphones was more beneficial for some reason. But what I realized is that I need to encourage my students to get external microphones. Because that will make difference for me to understand what is going on with their voices. Like yesterday, for example, with my students whom I teach for a while, I did not have problems because we had to work on certain musical things, their mistakes in pitch, in rhythm, and it was easy to correct. I mean, not easy with all of them, but you know, I could spend pay more attention and spend time on doing certain things, and still the lesson was beneficial. But if they would have a better microphone, I would hear them better and hear more details and what's going on with, you know, with the color of the voice, what they do. And also it is important for them to turn on original sound, because
definitely.
When the microphone is compensating, you know, like loud and low sounds, then I cannot really see the difference.
Exactly.
So it's important that they set up their system on their side, and maybe it would be great if the studio would send them directions, kind of instructions.
Yeah, that's a good point. The connection makes a huge difference. I'm pretty lucky. We have fiber at our house.
About singing,
So
with singing, and possibly
Frozen.
with other instruments, not a piano. It is important that all accompaniments, all music is on their side. Like I cannot play their warm-ups. So there are certain applications which I found which they can use to play their warm-ups if they cannot do this. And we are working with pre-recorded accompaniments for a while already. So most of them already had their accompaniments on their phones, and then they need separate device. It has to be separate from the computer they're using to be able to play it. They cannot play it on the same device for the sound to be okay. So with most of them, we managed to do it.
Very good, Olga. So what we've been doing, like we'll be contacting all the families today. And then if individual teachers, you have your specific requirement of how the setup is gonna be, or if you wanna be just sticking to Zoom, we'll include it in that email. So that will be sent to all your students individually. Like each studio will be different, so they know what to expect. So if you have time today, draft something for me. I know teacher Eva already did, so she put down everything's specification, and it will be very helpful, so that the student won't be surprised like in the first lesson. What we are trying to do is like want the parents to feel like this is possible and it could be sustainable ongoing. So if we messed up the first lesson, it's gonna be bad. So I encourage everyone super ready like for this coming week.
Speaking of warm-ups and things, one of the ones I've been using is Acapella. Oh, I didn't have my iPad charged. But that is an app that you can use to record a part and then have the student record their part. There's many options out there, but definitely it's a creative mix of how to get them the material, and you can't play together. So there are times when if I want to demonstrate something or I want them to play with me, I will have them play with me and just accept that it's not going to be together. And then I'll have them do it again to evaluate. That's one thing that I do. I just accept that it's not going to be together and go ahead and play for them so they can play along with me and then go forward. Just because we're getting close to time, are there any other questions?
Teacher Janice has a question on the chat. Can you spell
it? Yes.
You just mentioned
it's just like the word acapella. And I am actually happy I'll share the link. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for sharing.
I have a question about some rumors I heard about using Zoom. They will cut you out after 40 minutes. Is that true for one-on-one lessons or meetings?
So one-on-one lessons are unlimited. Well, meetings are free with the free tier. If you pay for it, $15 a month, then you have more time with groups.
Okay.
But I think most of us will be doing one-on-one most of the time, so there's no time limit for that.
Actually, I just noticed when I was setting up earlier that they increased to 2-to-1 now. Looks like even 2-to-1 is free now for actually for more than 40 minutes.
Yeah, I think they're responding to everyone's like, hey, we need this. So they're trying to accommodate as much as possible. I've also noticed a couple times I'll be in a meeting and they'll say, oh, we're extending this meeting for you. So it does happen, but I think mostly since we're primarily one-on-one, it shouldn't be an issue.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
Do you have a recommendation for a microphone? I was doing a little research, and it seems like Yeti makes a fairly decent USB mic. They have like a Yeti Snowball or something that's like $50, and then they have a nicer one that's around $129.
The one I've been using a Yeti mic, it's the blue, and that's been years now. I do think that Yeti has a decent mic and they're not break the bank expensive. I have actually been looking for, everyone's talking about this, but a good recommendation for what's currently a good choice. But I can personally recommend Yeti. I mean, you can hear what it sounds like right now.
Mhm.
And like I said, this mic is probably 6 years old, maybe 7, and it's still holding up. I did have to change the cable recently because everything's moved over to USB-C, so I finally had to update that. But I'm actually interested if people find good recommendations. Also, what's available, because I'm sure that it's going to be another run on on mics is going to be hard to find soon. So, but yeah, I'm interested if people have other recommendations, and I'll be looking myself as well.
I know Jessica just ordered something new, right? A microphone, Jessica?
Yes, I just ordered Yeti.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, on Amazon. It's the best seller.
How much is that?
So,
That's great.
it's saying 129, but if you buy it as a package with a video game DVD, it's like 119. So it's yeah. I ordered the package, so yeah, 119. But you cannot choose the color if you buy the package. You can only use the black.
Good enough. Okay, hi. We have 5 minutes left. Anyone? Experiences to share?
Maybe I'll just share real quickly. I've been, like I said, I've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years. And the reason for that is I had a student from Norway who was here for a year with her family. And they live in a very small town and decided they wanted to continue. So we've been doing it internationally for about 5 years now. So, and I would catch them when they would come to visit in the summer. But and just started one a couple of years ago in India. That one's much harder. The time difference is so terrible, but yeah, it's better than nothing. It's not ideal, but we make it work.
Oh, I would just say it's like great that we could still continue our job online, because I heard like so many businesses got super impact and they have to shut down, and we could still have this chance to continue. I think this is just great.
Yeah, definitely feeling pretty lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if anybody does run into questions, like I said, I would love to see a forum or something, but definitely feel free to email me. I'm happy to troubleshoot and share. So
Thank you so much, Teacher Sarah, and stay safe, everyone. So if you need anything, support from our school, anything that you need to adjust, let me know as soon as possible. So we'll start rolling out today. We already sent a email to all the students, like to notify them we're starting on Monday to put everything online. And then today we'll send a specific email about each studio. So if you have things that you want me to contact the parents, feel free to let me know. You are also welcome to contact your own students. So you think it will be easier for you to just directly communicate with the students, that would be totally fine with us. We'll just send you the list of all your students and then go ahead and set up yourself. What you need to let us know is like, what are the lessons that you've done so that I can mark it on my Appointment Plus and still get you paid, and also set up the schedule so the student will be reminded about that time. Any other questions? Good. Thank you, Teacher Sarah.
you're welcome. Thanks, everybody.
Stay safe, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.